Welcome to Debate Combats, where sharp minds clash and ideas matter. Tonight's motion asks whether the world should adopt a global carbon border fee with quarterly rebates paid back to households. Think of a checkpoint at the border that charges for the carbon pollution embedded in goods, then returns the money to people 4 times a year. This plan aims to reward cleaner production, cut emissions leakages, and put cash back into everyday pockets. On the progressive side, the team argues for the policy, saying regulation can become a recurring benefit for civil society. On the conservative side, the team argues against it, warning about costs, complexity, and global ripple effects. Affirmative is progressive, negative is conservative, and both teams will keep it clear, civil, and bold. Progressive team, the floor is yours for your opening case.
We back a global carbon border fee with quarterly household rebates because it turns climate action into a visible win for families. Pricing pollution at the border ends the free ride, levels the playing field, and stops companies from shifting factories to dodge rules. When the revenue returns to households each quarter, people see the benefit land in their bank accounts, not in bureaucracy. This is simple fairness, because if you profit from carbon, you should pay, and if you live with the impacts, you should get paid back. A border fee pushes every exporter to cut emissions or lose price advantage, which is exactly how markets drive cleaner tech. The quarterly rhythm builds trust because citizens can verify that the policy pays them on time and without games. It protects domestic producers who clean up because dirty imports no longer undercut them with hidden costs. It is pro-innovation, pro-accountability, and pro-people.
We have proof that dividends boost public support, because when people receive regular payments, they back the policy that funds them. Border adjustments already exist for safety and quality, so extending them to emissions is a practical evolution, not a leap into the dark. Quarterly rebates help lower-income families most, because a flat payment offsets price bumps better for the tightest budgets. Clear price signals speed up private investment in clean steel, cement, shipping, and power, which are the big hitters. Transparency dashboards can show how much each sector pays and how much each household receives, which keeps trust high. This plan reduces geopolitical finger-pointing because the rule applies based on carbon content, not on flags. Teenagers can track progress as easily as tracking a package because emissions data gets tagged and updated on a regular schedule. If we want cleaner air and steady bills, paying people back every quarter turns a hard choice into a shared benefit.
Thank you, progressive side, for a focused and punchy case. Conservative team, please lay out your opening argument.
We oppose this plan because it centralizes power in border bureaucracies while pushing costs onto families and small shops. A global carbon fee sounds tidy on paper, yet in practice it invites trade disputes, retaliation, and years of legal wrangling. Companies will pass costs through to essential goods, so families pay more for the same basket, while officials promise later rebates. Quarterly rebates do not erase the volatility between payments, and that cash timing risk hits the paycheck-to-paycheck household. Measuring embedded carbon across complex supply chains is guesswork dressed up as certainty, and guesswork is a poor tax base. Once built, this machine will grow because administrators will add carve-outs, offsets, and exceptions that reward insiders. Allies with different energy mixes will feel punished, which strains partnerships we need for security and prosperity. We favor targeted innovation credits, simple efficiency standards, and bilateral deals over a giant global toll booth.
History shows that big cross-border schemes slip deadlines, blow costs, and miss targets, while local innovation delivers faster. Household rebates can be gamed, delayed, or eroded by inflation, which turns a promised benefit into a political football. Small manufacturers will face paperwork they cannot afford, so the policy rewards giants who can hire compliance teams. Developing countries will see this as rich nations taxing their growth, which hardens resistance and slows real climate progress. Border pricing invites shadow markets and relabeling scams, because when margins grow, so does fraud. If we want cleaner industry, we should scale clean tech with prizes, procurement, and open standards that the world can adopt. Instead of taxing every shipment, let us reward every breakthrough and make the clean option the cheapest on its own. We can protect families today without building a permanent toll gate on global trade.
Thank you, conservative side, for a clear and firm challenge to the motion. We will now move to questions after a brief reset of the clock, and both teams should be ready to defend their claims. Progressive side, you have the mic for a targeted challenge to the opposition's claims.
You warned about families paying more, yet you skipped the part where quarterly rebates return the revenue directly to those families faster than any tax cut does.
Conservative side, respond directly to that point about household cash flow and pass-through costs.
A rebate paid later cannot buy dinner tonight, and when the grocery bill rises this week, the promise of a check next month is cold comfort to tight budgets.
The plan also invites retaliation from trading partners that see a tariff by another name, and when retaliation lands, it hits workers first and hardest.
Progressive side, answer the timing and retaliation concerns with clarity and keep it crisp.
Retail price pressure can be buffered by using predictable quarterly transfers that start before the fee fully ramps, while border rules tied to verified carbon data reduce the chance of political payback.
Conservative side, you now advance a two-voice offensive and keep the exchange clean and focused.
The proposal assumes we can measure embedded carbon precisely across sprawling supply chains, yet real factories swap inputs, shift energy mixes, and revise processes faster than auditors can track.
When measurements wobble, the burden falls on smaller shops that cannot hire consultants, and those shops either close or sell to bigger rivals who will then write the rules.
Thank you, and let us rein in the tempo and hand it back to the progressives for a two-voice strike.
Precision improves when the price signal rewards better data, because firms that document lower footprints pay less, win orders, and pressure suppliers to report honestly.
And those quarterly household rebates are simple to administer with existing tax infrastructure, which means the benefit lands on schedule like clockwork, not as a vague promise.
Let us cool the temperature and swing the floor to the conservatives for a two-voice defense with an answer and a pointed question.
Even if data improves, you still inject a volatile cost on imports, and the volatility will whipsaw small manufacturers that live on thin margins.
If this is so empowering for families, why not just cut payroll taxes instead of building a new border machine that will live forever and feed on fees?
Progressive side, provide a two-voice defense with one clear answer and one sharp diagnosis of any soft spot you hear.
A payroll tax cut misses imported carbon entirely, while a border fee neutralizes offshoring incentives and then recycles revenue to households, so the system tackles fairness and climate together.
The real soft spot is the assumption that the status quo is cost-free, because unchecked pollution is a stealth tax paid through disasters, medical bills, and lost wages.
We now invite interim reflections from our judges, who will state which bench they lean toward so far, the strengths they see, and a constructive nudge to both teams.
I am leaning toward the progressive bench for now, because the link between border pricing and quarterly rebates gives people a story they can feel and a schedule they can trust, while the conservative worry about volatility is fair but needs numbers, not shadows.
I am leaning toward the conservative bench for the moment, because the complexity risk is underplayed by the supporters and the case against administrative creep is strong, yet I urge the skeptics to offer a concrete alternative that reaches imports as directly as this fee does.
I tilt slightly toward the progressive bench right now, because the policy aligns incentives along the chain rather than yelling at consumers, though the supporters should show the mechanism that cushions low-income households between payments, while the skeptics should quantify the fraud risk they fear.
With fresh angles in mind, we start round two, and I expect genuinely new lines, and the floor moves first to the conservatives for a focused strike.
Here is a new angle, because the plan may undercut strategic alliances when allies with nuclear or hydro grids look cleaner than those still transitioning, and the fee will sort friends into winners and losers at the border.
Progressive bench, answer that alliance strain with a single clear line of defense.
The remedy is reciprocity through club rules that credit credible climate policies wherever they happen, which turns the fee into a doorway for partners rather than a wall for rivals.
Let me push forward, because a global fee plus household rebates becomes a civic habit that people anticipate, budget around, and defend, which makes climate action a kitchen table norm instead of a lecture.
Conservative bench, hold the line and provide a compact defense.
A civic habit built on a quarterly check can morph into dependence, and when revenue swings with trade cycles, the payout shrinks right when families face downturns.
Progressive bench, Mount a two-voice press with a leader and a strong second.
Trade cycles cut both ways, and that is why the dividend should be smoothed with a stabilization reserve, so households experience a steady cadence rather than a roller coaster.
Meanwhile, clear phase-in schedules let industries plan capital upgrades on 3 to 5 year horizons, which transforms chaos into a queue of predictable investments.
Conservative bench answer with a two-voice counter where one leads and one reinforces with detail.
Predictable investment sounds charming until an energy price shock arrives and the fee piles on, so your schedule collides with reality and the repair bill lands on workers.
A better path is targeted procurement for low-carbon cement and steel that uses public projects to pull innovation without taxing every cross-border crate.
Progressive bench, you have the mic for a two-voice defense that includes a clear answer and a probing question.
Public procurement is vital, but cannot police imports that undercut clean bidders, so without a border fee, the green factory loses to the gray one, and the taxpayer pays twice.
If the concern is energy price shocks, why reject a design that automatically rebates revenue to households, which is the one shock absorber that arrives not as charity but as a right?
We return to targeted exchanges, and the progressives receive the pass for a compact press.
The policy aligns fairness and competition because it charges pollution, not passports, which means cleaner producers in every nation gain share, and dirtier producers lose it.
Conservatives offer a crisp shield from a single voice.
Charging pollution, not passports, still means countries with weaker measurement systems lose by default, and that breeds resentment, legal fights, and creative relabeling.
Resentment falls when the benefit is visible at home and the rule is open to any exporter that improves. And that is exactly how global sport rules work, because clear scoring drives better play.
Conservatives' one voice, hold your ground with a new tack.
You compare it to sport, but forget that referees can be biased. In the instant a gatekeeper grades complex products, the lobbyists line up to tilt the scoreboard.
Bias shrinks when every product file carries a digital audit trail, and random checks face real penalties, which is normal in food safety and should be normal here too.
Conservatives, you may pair up for a longer broadside and keep it tight.
Households will see the fee at the till and the payment later, and that lag will be framed as a broken promise every time politics turns ugly.
And once an election swings the majority, the payout formula will be rewritten to favor friends because that is the iron law of complicated cash machines.
Progressives, two voices, strike back with clarity and receipts.
The payout can be locked to a nonpartisan formula overseen, like inflation-indexed benefits, and transparency portals can show every deposit date to each postal code.
Moreover, sunset clauses and 5-year reviews force renewal by performance, which is how you prevent any machine from growing moss and feeding only insiders.
Conservatives, you now provide a two-voice defense with a direct answer and a challenging prompt.
Indexed formulas still depend on data collection that can be delayed, and when the timeline slips, the family budget does not.
If the goal is fairness, would you accept a carve-out for least developed exporters while holding rich importers to the strictest rate? Or does your fairness end at the waterline?
Progressives, two voices, close this sequence with a forthright reply and a precise vulnerability check.
A staged rate for least developed exporters makes sense if paired with technical and financial support that shrinks footprints quickly rather than freezing them in time.
Vulnerability is not the border fee, but weak data infrastructure, so the fix is funding open measurement tools that small firms can use without a consultant tax.
We pivot to shorter jabs, and the progressives receive a swift pass for an aggressive but focused line.
Without a border fee and rebate, the clean producer loses bids to the dirtiest rival, the public pays with smog and floods, and the cycle keeps rewarding the worst behavior.
Conservatives, shield with one sentence that stands on its own.
We can break that cycle with simple performance standards applied at home and procurement that refuses dirty bids, which avoids inventing a new tariff maze.
Standards at home do not touch imports, and the rebate turns the fee into a dividend machine rather than a maze, which is why families will defend it once they see the deposits.
Conservatives, one more single voice strike and keep it novel.
Your dividend machine still runs on trade volume, so the day a slowdown arrives, the benefits shrink while prices stay sticky, and that mismatch will breed anger, not trust.
A stabilization buffer solves volume swings and can be built by reserving a modest share in good quarters, which is what responsible programs do when they plan for rainy days.
Conservatives. Load one more two-voice salvo and keep the leader and supporter distinct.
Rainy day funds are often rated for other priorities, and once rated, they rarely refill on time.
If you want real resilience, invest in grids, ports, and heat pumps directly, because those keep lights on regardless of what customs officials decide to stand.
Progressives. Two voices. Reply with an answer and an inversion.
Direct investment is vital, and the border fee funds it politically by making households the first beneficiary, which is why the program can survive beyond one election.
The inversion is this, because the fee turns clean choices into the cheaper ones by design, and then investment becomes a race to win, rather than a plea to spend.
Let us keep the cadence tight as we approach the midpoint of round 2. And conservatives, you have a compact one-voice attack ready.
The plan still treats every product as a spreadsheet, yet factories are communities with people who will bear the compliance grind and the layoffs when margins snap.
Progressives. One voice. Defend without drifting.
Communities thrive when clean factories outcompete dirty ones, and the fee clears the fog that lets hidden pollution undercut honest work.
Progressives. One voice. Add a final thrust before we transition.
This is not a moral lecture because it is a market rule that pays people, rewards clean makers and pressures cheaters, which is the only triangle stable enough to last.
Conservatives. One voice. Close your side of this sequence with a steady guard.
A stable triangle also needs modest governance, and your design still builds a sprawling checkpoint culture that will write manuals faster than it cuts emissions.
Progressives. Two voices. Make your last round 2 offensive with a leader and a precise support line.
Checkpoint culture shrinks when rules are digital by default, with tamper-evident ledgers, random sampling, and heavy fines for false reporting.
Households care about results, and quarterly deposits that show up on the same day build a muscle memory that beats slogans every time.
Conservatives. Two voices. Answer with a measured strike and a concrete alternative.
A concrete alternative is border testing limited to the dirtiest sectors first, paired with mutual recognition deals that scale once verification passes real-world trials.
Tie that to aggressive procurement of clean materials for public housing and transit, and you get cleaner supply chains without taxing every item on every shelf.
Progressives. Two voices. Defend with an answer and a challenging question that invites specifics.
Sector limits create loopholes that bad actors can drive trucks through, and mutual recognition works best when backed by a price signal that keeps everyone honest.
If the worry is overreach, will you commit to a transparent review that sunsets sectors once their footprints fall? Because that is how we retire rules that have done their job.
Conservatives. Two voices. Close this block with a clear answer and a sharp critique.
We support sunsets tied to measurable improvements, but we still reject turning customs into the primary climate agency.
Your sharpest claim is the dividend. Yet that claim assumes political saints will never miss a payment, and politics rarely produces saints.
We now break for a rapid mid-round pulse and then press ahead, and both benches should keep the edges keen and the tone respectful. Before we charge to the finish, are there fresh angles or anything crucial left unsaid from either bench?
Yes, and it is this. A policy that pays families every quarter, changes behavior faster than speeches, because money is a teacher everyone hears.
You keep calling it a teacher while building a toll that punishes the paycheck each time a crate crosses a border.
A toll without a return is punishment, yet a fee with a dividend is a contract, and contracts build trust when the deposits arrive on time.
Trust shatters when the ledger is wrong by a decimal, and decimals go wrong when auditors chase shifting supply chains.
The fix is to tie liability to a conservative default that firms can beat by proving cleaner inputs, which rewards those who show their work.
That default becomes the real price for the small shop that cannot afford verification, which hands market share to giants with legal teams.
Small shops win when the dirtiest incumbents can no longer undercut honest work with hidden pollution, and that is the core fairness you keep dodging.
Fairness also means not letting rich importers rewrite rules that squeeze poorer exporters who climb the ladder one rung at a time.
A club that credits credible policies wherever they occur, invites every nation to bring its best tools, not its excuses.
Clubs with closed doors breed suspicion, and suspicion breeds retaliation that no dividend can sweeten.
Suspicion fades when the scoreboard is open source and every rebate receipt is visible by district, which turns rumor into data.
Data transparency does not feed a family in a bad month when electricity bills and food prices jump together.
That is why the design front-loads payments during ramp-up and builds a stabilization buffer that tops up transfers during energy shocks.
Buffers are piggy banks politicians raid, and once raided, the trust you advertise evaporates.
You keep assuming sabotage while we are designing safeguards, and design beats cynicism because it shows its seams to the public.
Designs also drift under pressure, and once loopholes appear, the clean claim becomes a slogan rather than a standard.
Loopholes shrink when penalties bite and audits are random, and markets adjust quickly when cheating becomes expensive rather than clever.
Penalties fall on the last link in the chain, which is often the worker who did not attend your climate seminar.
Penalties fall on firms, while workers gain when clean plants become the cheap plants and win the contracts they keep losing now.
That is a promise dressed as a forecast, and families cannot pay rent with forecasts.
Families can plan around quarterly deposits with dates that never move, and that rhythm is a better anchor than a one-time tax cut that vanishes in a headline.
The rhythm becomes another dependency that parties will weaponize during elections.
You can call it dependency, or you can call it fairness, because paying people what pollution costs them is not a bribe, it is balance.
Balance is also national security, and tariff fights with allies over carbon math weaken the alliances that keep the lights on.
Security grows when supply chains clean up because shocks from droughts and fires shrink, so the policy is insurance by another name.
Insurance with a premium that appears at the register and a payout that arrives later is a tough sell to parents with thin wallets.
Parents know subscriptions, and this is a subscription that pays them, which is a category people understand the moment the first deposit lands.
They will also understand when the second deposit is smaller during a trade dip, and understanding does not mean approval.
Stability rules smooth the curve by saving from fat quarters to fill lean ones, and a rule written in plain language can be enforced by courts, not whims.
Courts arrive after harm, while your fee arrives before dinner.
Dinner is why we start with deposits before full fees, because empathy belongs in design as much as in speeches.
Empathy does not fix the measuring nightmare inside mixed origin products.
Default intensities plus verified pathways are how customs already handle health and safety. And emissions can follow the same playbook with better sensors.
Health checks do not overhaul global pricing across every aisle in the store.
They do when contamination is systemic, and carbon contamination of prices is exactly that. A hidden subsidy paid by everyone to reward the worst producers.
You keep calling it contamination because that word makes a tax feel like a cure.
I call it contamination because unpriced damage is a silent invoice landing on families after every flood and heat wave.
You are selling a new invoice to avoid an invisible one, and voters may reject both.
Voters defend programs that defend them, and deposits with their name on them feel like defense, not theory.
Then show a program that never missed a payment under stress.
Indexed benefits and social insurance across democracies meet that bar more often than not when they are automated and audited.
They also face political storms that freeze payments and trigger panic.
Storms are weather, institutions are climate, and we are choosing which climate of policy to live in.
I am calling time on the Free Fire Exchange, and we need final clarity, so progressives please deliver your closing in 2 voices.
Here is the record in plain lines. Border pricing charges pollution, not passports. Quarterly rebates send revenue back to households on a schedule they can plan around. Transparency and random checks turn data into discipline, and a stabilization buffer smooths payments when energy markets shake.
Judges, back this because it celebrates work that cleans rather than work that cuts corners. It protects families with cash they can count on, and it tells a story young people can follow because the scoreboard is public and the rules reward honesty.
Conservatives, your final word now with 2 voices.
Our ledger shows fragility because precise measurement across tangled supply chains is not ready for prime time. Quarterly cash cannot fix weekly shocks, and building a border machine for every product means drift, loopholes, and litigation.
Judges favor skepticism because resilience is built with targeted standards, focused procurement, and real infrastructure, not with a permanent toll that families feel before they see any return.
Judges, we ask for final assessments, your praise for both, your verdict, and your reason and order.
Both teams cut sharp lines and kept the pace urgent, yet I vote for the progressive bench because the design details around defaults, audits, and stabilization turned a slogan into a workable mechanism, while the opposition left its alternative as a patchwork rather than a single spine.
The exchange was rigorous, and I admire the restraint under heat, yet I cast my vote for the Conservative bench because complexity costs and geopolitical friction were underplayed by the supporters, and I found the targeted procurement path more credible for an immediate start.
The craft on display was excellent from both sides, and I respected this steel manning. Yet I give my vote to the progressive bench because tying a price to pollution while paying households regularly aligns incentives along the chain and offers a feedback loop people can feel and verify.
By a vote of 2-1, the progressive team carries the motion, and congratulations on a hard-fought win. To the winners, a quick word of gratitude and reflection.
Thank you. We aim to show that fairness can be designed and not just declared. And we appreciate the push that made the design tighter.
We are grateful for the challenge because pressure tests make policies durable, and we hope households everywhere will soon see regular deposits that prove promises.
To the conservatives, your closing thoughts with our thanks.
We respect the verdict and remain focused on practical paths that protect families first, and we will keep pressing for simplicity over sprawl.
Debates like this sharpen plans, and we leave with clearer guardrails to keep any system honest and bounded.
Thank you to both teams for a debate that burned bright but stayed respectful. Thank you to our judges for sharp minds and generous guidance. To everyone listening through to the end, we are grateful for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with the next motion you want to see. If you can, please support the channel using the QR code on the lower right of the screen, or the link in the description. You will also find links in the description to other series that are completely different in tone and topic. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and join us again for the next clash on Debate Combats.